Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time for us to come together and to present Love Inc. To those who are friends of ours and those who may not know who Love Inc. is. Lord, I pray that your blessing on the events of tonight. Pray that you will guide us and direct us, give us wisdom as we walk through the night. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for all the donors, volunteers, and those who have given so much to Love Inc. over the last year and over the many years. So, Lord, just thank you so much for this opportunity here tonight. For it's in Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Welcome to the 7th annual Agape Dinner. Well, it's not quite a dinner this time around. I'm your host for tonight, David Hawkins, Love Inc. Board of Directors President. So welcome to the Agape. Normally, like I said, it's a dinner, and we do miss not being together this year. And I hope that we can do that for next year. Nevertheless, this is a fundraiser. So you're going to see at the bottom of the screen, it's going to pop up here in just a moment, way that you can donate to Love Inc. It's going to pop up off and on throughout the presentation. There it is right now, 371-2129. Call that number, and one of these people here are assisting you with your donation to Love Inc. So let's get those phones ringing, 371-2129. And even if you're not watching us live, well, you can still donate. Oh, wow. Glad to hear that phone ringing. You can still donate by calling that number, or you can go online to loveincfairbanks.org. That's loveincfairbanks.org. Click on the donate button. Additionally, you can pick up that phone that's sitting right there next to you, that mobile phone, and you can text the word Love Inc. to 41444 and donate that way. Now, I'm going to get out of their way so they can do their job. And as I'm moving that way, mobilizing the church and transforming lives. That's what Love Inc. is all about. Did you hear that? Transforming lives. That's what they do, and that's what they do best. Love Inc. most often meets a client's need through the Church Gap Ministries. In 2020 alone, over 200 toiletry kits, plus there was firewood given away, household items, food, clothing, and more through the local church. 63% of the nearly 3,000 needs met last year was through the local church. Thank you, churches, and wow, did you come through in such a tough year. Now, as we go through tonight's 7th annual Agape Dinner, you're going to meet Love Inc. staff, some of them, including Executive Director Jason Kemp Thorne. You will also meet a loving family client and a volunteer in our transportation department. So as we continue through the night, remember 371-2129 is how you can donate. 371-2129. As our first spotlight tonight, we meet Ann. Ann has been a driver for Love Inc. for some time. Now, as a volunteer, Ann, for Love Inc.'s program, the transportation program, what do you do?
I just drive people to their medical appointments. And I pick them up at home, I take them to their medical appointment, and then I take them back home. Before I used to only do Thursday morning, but now I do whenever I can, but it's usually only once a week. And it's just a few hours.
What does it take to be a volunteer driver at Love Inc.?
You have to be very open to hear their story and their past. But that's what I like, is I feel like a confidant, like a social worker. They tell me, maybe they vent. If they live alone at home, they have nobody, no family who talks to them or friends. Maybe I'm the only person they will talk to that day, or besides their appointment. I mostly have been driving women, and I've been very sad to hear about domestic violence in their home that injured them for life. and now they are disabled. I think that's horrible.
Can you share a story about someone that you've given rides to?
I was just thinking, I used to drive a lady every week to her mental health counseling, and she said, oh, I choose this day so that you will drive me. And all of a sudden, I don't know what she did, but she never had appointments with me anyway, so I don't know what to expect. They say, oh yeah, I want, because they never know who is going to pick them up. That's the rule. They cannot choose their driver. But yeah, that lady, I was taking her every week to the same place, and all of a sudden, I hope maybe she didn't need any more counseling, but I don't know if that's the reason. But there are other people, I have been so shocked to see how they live, where they live. When I help more, I've taken some people grocery shopping, and I help them unload the car and bring their bags into their house. And their house is just one room, the bed, the oven, everything is in one room. I don't know how, and they are cold. There is one lady, she told me she turns on the oven to get warm. That makes me cry. So a lot of people are suffering here.
And what would you tell someone who wants to volunteer in the transportation program at Love Inc.?
To be very open-minded and very flexible, and be ready to listen to their story. But it's fun and it's easy.
And we want to thank you for giving us your time tonight, and we want to thank you for the volunteering that you do here at Love Inc. Thank you very much, Ann. For volunteer opportunities, go to loveincfairbanks.org, click on the volunteer button. That'll take you to the VOMO app. It's a volunteer app. You can download that and then discover needs that you can meet for those who need assistance through Love Inc. I hope that sounds simple enough. You can make a difference, change a life, and impact your community by being a volunteer with Love Inc. Now, one of the places Love Inc. can utilize volunteers is in the Clearinghouse. The Clearinghouse is where most needs come to Love Inc. It starts with a simple phone call. Then there's a well-trained volunteer that gathers information. That could be you. And the process to serve a member of our community begins. So for volunteer opportunities, go to loveincfairbanks.org and click on that volunteer button. The phones are ringing, 371-2129. Thank you very much for your donations. If the phones happen to be busy, well, you can use that cellular device, that mobile phone is probably right there next to you. Just text the word Love Inc. to 41444. That's simple. Text the word Love Inc. to 41444. You can make a one-time donation or a year-long support donation, which means every month you can support Love Inc. $25, $100, $1,000 a month. It's up to you. It's real easy to do through texting. Text the word Love Inc. to 41444, and you can help those in our community. Also, again, 371-2129 to get your donation in right now. Up next, we have Vicki. Vicki is Love Inc.'s Development and Communications Coordinator, and she has with her Love Inc.'s Clearinghouse Program Director, Val.
Thanks, Dave. So I have Val here, who is the Clearinghouse Director here at Love Inc. So Val, can you tell us a little bit about your ministry?
Yes. Well, first of all, Vicki, I want to welcome you and the viewers at home to the Clearinghouse. What we do here is we have calls coming into our Clearinghouse. Our receptionist back there screens the calls, and then we give them to caseworkers. The caseworkers do case management with them. Calls range from fuel, food, clothing, just different types of needs. We're able to find out what their need is and find those resources and get the clients taken care of.
Wow, that's
Yes.
amazing. So volunteers play a huge role in the clearinghouse, right?
Yes, our volunteers have a big part of our clearinghouse. Without them, this wouldn't happen, and I do appreciate them.
Wow.
Yes.
So what's something in 2020 that impacted the clearinghouse, or how was that for you?
Well, during these hard times, as we're all, in difficult times that we're all dealing with right now as a community and as a nation, we came together and we were able to distribute the Fairbanks and North Pole Cares. That came in through the clearinghouse, and we were able not only to distribute those funds, but also find out other needs that the clients had. A lot of them didn't have food. Some needed winter clothing. We were able to assist somebody to talk to and pray with, and we were able to do that, to let them know that they're not alone and Jesus is near and not far.
Wow, yeah, that's
Yes.
good. So you're able to keep that door open in the unknown.
Yes, definitely. The calls kept on coming in and we kept on answering.
Wow.
Yes.
So what's something you're excited about for 2021 then?
I'm excited what God has in store for Love Inc. in our community. During these times, the Word of God tells us, don't go weary in doing good. And just know that, hey, you know what? Come and volunteer. Come and give your time. And the community will appreciate it. Love Inc. will appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
Yes.
much, Val, for taking time out of your day.
Yes, thank you.
Back to you, Dave.
Well, thank you, Val and Vicky. Now, if you want to volunteer, it's real easy. You can become a Clearinghouse volunteer by downloading the VOMO app, which you can do through Apple App Store or a Google Play Store. And once you find that, you can click on the volunteer opportunities for Love Inc. You can also find it real easy by going to loveincfairbanks.org, clicking on that volunteer button. It will take you to that VOMO app. Okay? So, speaking of the Clearinghouse, last year the Clearinghouse received 5,378 phone calls. That's a lot of phone calls, folks. Each one of those phone calls start with a Clearinghouse volunteer. Now, maybe you can only do 2 or 3 days a week. Maybe you're not sure what you can do. Well, go to loveincfairbanks.org, click on that donate button. Click on that volunteer button, and you can find out how you can volunteer with Love Inc. By the way, you can click on the donate button too while you're there. Why not? 371-2129. We're looking for people to support Love Inc. and support the ministries of Love Inc. Again, 371-2129. And we're really looking for year-long supporters, new year-long supporters. I'll get it right. If you are looking to support Love Inc. year-long, we appreciate you very much. We will take those dollars and maximize them to help those in the community. Now, Jason Kemp Thorne, he is Love Inc.'s executive director. Many of you know him. I have had the privilege of working alongside Jason as a board member for the last 7 years, and I can tell you he is truly dedicated to the mission and purpose of Love Inc. Jason understands what it takes to provide many different needs. And he knows how to do it, but he needs your help. It takes money. He would love to do a whole lot more. It takes volunteers. He would love to do a whole lot more, but we need your help. Go to loveincfairbanks.org, that website right now. Click on that donate button, donate, and then turn around and click on that volunteer button, and then you can volunteer with Love Inc. So I thank you, Jason, for being with us tonight. How did you get involved with Love Inc., Jason?
David, I got really involved with Love Inc. in 2013, but prior to that, my church, my wife is a pastor in North Pole, and my church was doing a firewood lot. They would cut and split wood and give it out in the winter. And so I got kind of involved with that. I had a truck, and so I was delivering firewood to folks. And that was kind of my first experience with Love Inc. And then in 2013, they were needing an executive director, and I looked at my wife and I said, "Is that something I can do?" I had a I have a religion major and a church professions minor, and so it just kind of fit right into my wheelhouse. But my connection really kind of goes deeper than that. I came in and for me, when I was doing youth and family ministry before I got to Alaska, we would go on mission trips. We would go do Habitat for Humanity. We would go and paint churches and help people in different communities. And so my fingerprints are all over the country on those youth work trips and things like that. So we brought groups to New York State. We brought groups to Kentucky. We brought groups to Colorado. And so I always had this mentality of service. And so connecting here just made sense. And I really view our ministry here as being able to deliver something to the pastors in the community, deliver a ministry that they can pick up very easily and get people involved. And, we do such a great job at that. We have thousands of volunteer hours each year of people that can, whether it's delivering firewood, how I got involved, or spending the night in the Loving Families program, or just connecting with people over the phone in the Clearinghouse. There's so many different ways for folks to get involved. And that's really how I got connected here at Love Inc. was by volunteering. And then I needed some poor sap to run the place, and that's how I got involved.
COVID has changed our lives in a lot of different ways. Our day-to-days are completely different now. So tell me, Jason, has the pandemic changed the way Love Inc. operated in this last year, and what do you see moving forward?
As you know, this year's been a little bit different with COVID and all of the craziness that's happening. We have a lot of folks that are unsure of where their next paycheck's coming from. We had a lot of folks that were laid off. We had a lot of families kind of struggling, and we still have this moratorium on evictions that's kind of screwing things up. And so Love Inc. over the last year really had to adapt and change in order to continue to serve the folks that were in need. One of the coolest things I think that happened was the food bank. We connected with the food bank, and they had a group of they had a farm to table program. It was part of the COVID relief package, and we were able to go and pick up thousands of food boxes over the summer from the food bank and get them to the churches for them to then go out and distribute to those who they knew were in need. And so this summer was a huge change with the food program. Now, that was just a program that was stood up, and it's no longer. We'll see what happens again, but it speaks to the flexibility of Love Inc. And because we're a volunteer organization through and through, we can adapt very quickly to the changing environment around us. One of the coolest things is the Clearinghouse. As you know, the last, with COVID, we had the CARES relief package, and Love Inc. got to be part of that. We got to work with the city of Fairbanks and the city of North Pole, and we gave out over $3.5 million to people in need, paying for rent and utility assistance and some of those kind of things, which is a huge feat. And we were able to do that with volunteers, and we had a shortage of volunteers. So we actually had to hire on some staff to be able to do it. Able to accomplish really helped so many people in need. Last time I looked, there were over 700 families that received assistance through that program. And so, as we ramp up and look forward to the future, we've got other things that are in the works around rent and utility assistance and some of those kind of things in order to continue to help people get back on their feet through the pandemic. And a lot of those are federal funds that are coming through. You may know that we're working with Golden Valley right now. Golden Valley found $250,000 to help folks with electric bills. And so again, Love Inc. was tapped in order to help with our Clearinghouse program, screen and verify the need, and help people with their electric bills. And so, being flexible was so important this last summer, and into the fall. The other thing I think we did well this year was our Loving Families program. Normally meets in the local churches, and that had to adapt because churches closed up the doors. There's some churches that still aren't meeting in person. There's churches that have been throughout this whole thing. But the question really was, how do we house people in the local churches with a pandemic? And we were able to shift into a situation where we found funding to put the homeless families into shelter, into a hotel. And so with that change, it's going to change back. Loving Families is still going to come back and return to the churches, but for right now, we found a way to continue to do it, and we've helped 7 or 8 families already this, since November, through that program that have been housed at one of the local hotels. And we did the same thing at the end of last spring, just to make sure that program continued on. So those are some of the cool things that are happening around here, and some of the accomplishments that I'm really proud of, and I know my staff are really proud of, happening right now.
What does the future hold for Love Inc., and how can people get involved?
So moving forward into this year and into the next year, there's a lot of things that Love Inc. Could really use some help with. One, first and foremost, is volunteers. We have so many different ways for folks to volunteer, and ways for people to get involved. We have the Clearinghouse program, and people are in there and answering phones, and those volunteers get to speak to and interact with people that are in need every single day. It's an amazing program to be able to share your heart, share your concerns with the folks that are in need, and just a really cool way to give back. We also have the Loving Families program that'll return, and it's a great way for your church to get involved. I know we're looking for a couple more churches to get involved with that program, and churches to come together and say, I want to host, we have a group of volunteers that want to be able to pull this off in our church. The other way I think people can really get involved is through the Furniture Bank program. We have volunteer opportunities galore down there. Come in and help people with furniture and clean up, spruce up the furniture that's been donated. It's just a great thing. We opened that during the pandemic, and it's really has helped serve a lot of folks so far. And it's been a little tough just because of, are we open, are we not open, what's going on down there in the Furniture Bank program. But it truly has change the way that we do the ministry around here. So those are all some great volunteer opportunities. The second way to really get involved is support our staff. We have a very small staff, but a very large group of volunteers. I know one of the favorites is we had a guy a while ago come in with coolers full of milkshakes, and everybody just loved it. It was so much fun. We had a milkshake party in the kitchen, and just those little fun breaks in the day always are welcomed. But beyond that, a financial donation, for instance, staff in our Clearinghouse program oversees 5,000 or 6,000 volunteer hours each year with that program. Our one paid staff in the Loving Families program really can work with the volunteers there and support families coming out of homelessness. So your financial dollar that you give to Love Inc. truly is is multiplied. We know that when you give $100 to Love Inc., it turns into $500 to have a big impact on those in our community. And so that's a great way for people to give back. As you know, or may be aware of, we moved into this new facility here in 2018. We moved into this building, and we have a mortgage that we have to pay off, so that's something that we're keeping an eye on. We've got years to do that, but those windfalls really truly do help us in that area as well.
If people want to get involved, what's their next step?
So if you want to get involved, it's really, really simple. You can go to our VOMO app. It's a great way to volunteer. Right there on the app, they'll post different volunteer opportunities. If you want to come in and come on a tour, we'd love to have you do that. If you want to make a donation, now's the time. Of course, you can text that Love Inc. to 41444 or call the number. We have our volunteers standing by in the clearinghouse. We've turned it into a call center for the telethon tonight, but even if you're watching this later, you can still call the number on the screen and make a donation. We really do appreciate it, and it goes so far to help the ministry. And really, that's what tonight's all about, is replacing a fundraising dinner that just isn't here anymore. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Jason. Volunteer today for Love Inc. through the VOMO app. You can find that on your Google Play or Apple App Store. Volunteering changes lives. Now, I heard the phone ringing. Thank you so much for calling us, 371-2129. We really appreciate it. One-time or year-long commitment, every donation goes to help serve needs right here in the interior. So pick up that phone right now and call 371-2129 to donate, or simply text the word Love Inc. to 41444. We are just over halfway through our 7th annual Agape. Hope you have enjoyed it. And yes, it is very different. We know that. But still, Love Inc. has needs. And therefore, we've taken that time now to let you know what needs we have and encourage you to get involved. Show Christ's love. That's what I'm trying to say, by donating or volunteering for Love Inc. right now. Now, each April, Love Inc. invites church clergy and leadership to their annual business meeting. Now, at these annual business meetings, one of the things that Love Inc. is trying to do is to find out if there is a need that's not being met in the community. Now, about 5 years ago, when that happened, the clergy were telling us, hey, we have a problem with family homelessness in Fairbanks. So the board of directors and the executive director of Love Inc. decided helping homeless families was within the mission of Love Inc. That time, the Loving Families program was born.
I have Dean here, our program director here at Love Inc. We are in the nursery that Jubilee Worship Center and their volunteers made super beautiful. So, Dean, describe your ministry here at Love Inc.
Well, we all have life skills. And some of us have gone through some obstacles and problems in our life, probably have mad life skills. But a lot of times it's very helpful to be able to bounce ideas off somebody and make sure we have all the options and put some kind of game plan together. Here at Love Inc., through the Loving Families program, we actually help people. We help people try to identify those issues, sharpen up some of those life skills, align them to make sure they can overcome the obstacles they have. And we also address one of the greatest needs that we all have. All of our training has pointed out to us that the root of poverty is broken relationships. And we know that is between God, our maker, and our community, ourselves. Through the Loving Families program, we give an opportunity for the community to participate and intentionally make relationships with people in our families that have need. And not only intentional relationships.
Wow, beautifully described. So what's something that happened in 2020?
Well, this is no news flash to anybody, but 2020 was weird and different. But I think here at Love Inc., we were very flexible. We're still able through 2020 to get several families into stable housing. I think that was a success.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I said with Val also, that we had the doors open in the unknown.
Yep, that's true.
So what about for 2021? What are you excited about for your program? And
I'm looking forward to normal. I'm looking for a time where we can actually meet and wrap our arms around some of these families and the volunteers and actually get back to doing what we do best. And that's just loving each other.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Well, thanks, Dean, for taking time out of your day. And back to you, Dave.
Thank you, Vicki and Dean, for sharing with us a little about the Loving Families program. That program helps people through not only housing, but also life skills, coaching and mentorship, giving people a hand up during their biggest time of need. You can help us tonight by supporting us and helping us help people, whether it's in the Loving Families program or it's a Gap ministry or one of the other things that Love Inc. does. So if you're watching right now, 371-2129, have your credit card in hand and be ready to donate to Love Inc. The Loving Families program is a rotating family shelter with roughly 15 host churches that house and care for each of the families involved. Now, last year, when COVID came around, the staff at Love Inc. had to think about a new way of doing things because we want to protect our church volunteers. So Love Inc. secured a grant to help pay for motel rooms for the Loving Families program. Now, does that mean the church volunteers weren't there? Of course they were there. They stepped up in a major way by providing food and supplies for each of the families. Now, each family receives 90 days to work toward permanent housing. This year, even with a moratorium on eviction, we have seen a need for the Loving Families program. Richard is a single father with 5 kids. He called Love Inc. to learn about the Loving Families program. Early on, he got the answers he needed. And over the next 90 days, with Love Inc.'s help, he was able to focus on the important things and get back on his feet. Well, now they entered the program in September, him and his 5 kids, and they graduated with their own apartment before Christmas. So, Richard, thank you very much for being with us tonight. And could you tell us about your situation?
My wife and I had split, and more or less I was homeless from May on until I met with Dean with Loving Families. It was me and my kids. I was pretty much living in my van. The kids, they were bouncing from my mother-in-law's and then sometimes with my wife, but they were pretty much with her until I got with the program. Oh, it was extremely difficult. I still had a job. I lost because of everything going on. I lost my main job, which was paying me good money. And then I went from making $80,000 to $20,000.
Now, Richard, once you made a phone call to Love Inc., what did they offer you?
Well, we had the shelter, the food, the clothes. I was able to save up money to get into a place, which I finally did, and that was the main goal. It was rough for those, 6 months, especially, being in a small place with the kids, but it helped me out exponentially. I don't know where I'd be right now if I didn't. Now it's trying to move on with our lives, I am looking for other work, and now I can focus on trying to make more money for my family. I can start focusing on helping the kids with school and, whatnot.
Richard, I hear your heart, man. Love Inc. helped my family out in 1996, and that's one of the reasons I volunteer today. But I want to know the last question here, Richard. What would you change about the program, and what was the highlight of working with Love Inc.?
Honestly, I don't know what you would add to the program other than, it's good. I don't know. I was able to save up money to get into a place, which I finally did, and that was the main goal. Oh, my 3-year-old, he calls it his new house. That's all he says, my new house. We go to my new house.
I want to thank everyone who has been with the program tonight. And I want to tell you for the final time, it is time for you to get involved with Love Inc. You can volunteer through the VOMO app, donate through your mobile phone by texting the word Love Inc. to 41444, or you can call 371-2129. Love Inc. Fairbanks.org is where you can go and click that donate button. And you can also click that volunteer button. And then if you want to follow Love Inc., find out what's going on a weekly basis, go to Facebook, type in Love Inc. of the Tanana Valley on Facebook, and you can follow us there. Thank you to all the volunteers behind us, all the volunteers from this year who helped with Love Inc., and we'll see you next year at the 8th annual Agape. Good night.